So for the next series of queries, we're actually going to be using the query wizard. So we're going to go into create. And we actually need to be in the Dearborn database. So let's close out of this one and open the correct one. And we're going to go to create, and we're going to choose query wizard. And we're going to be using the simple query wizard. And this is an alternative to going into the design grid. I prefer the design grid. You have a lot more control, but sometimes beginners like to use the query wizard. So as far as tables, the first step here is to pick where the data is coming from. And they want it to come from the client table. And on the left are all of the fields in the table, and on the right are the ones that are going to be in the query. So what we need to do is select client ID, click the arrow to make that part of the query, and then we're going to click on client and click the arrow to make that part of the query. And that's all we want from this particular table. So we're going to select a different table, which is the sales table. And then from sales, what we want to add are the sales. Okay, and so those are all of the fields that we want. So we're going to go ahead and click on next. And we do want to see all of the data. So we're going to go ahead and click on next again. And at this point, we can actually name our query. So we're going to call it client sales query. And we're going to hit finish. Okay, and so it has created the query for us. And it's an alternate to going into the design grid. Okay, it's already been saved. So we're going to go ahead and close it. Okay, and you should see it over here in your listing of queries. So at this point, we're going to close out of this and open up yet another database. We're going to go back to PackTrack. And they want us to create a query that displays the products on order, the order amounts, and the supplier names. And again, we're going to go into the query wizard. And so our first table is the supplier table. And from suppliers, we want supplier ID and supplier name. And then we need to switch tables to orders. And from our orders table, we want the product ID, it looks like. Let's see, from our order table. Product ID and the amount. Now you'll notice in the example, theirs are in a little different order. This is kind of interesting. They have supplier ID, product ID, amount, and then supplier name. And so to get it in their order, I'm going to move supplier name back. And then we've got to go back into that other table and take supplier name and move it back over here. Now it should go to the bottom. That's actually the only way to get it in that order. So that's quite interesting. We're going to click on next. And yes, we want all the detail. And for the name, we're just going to highlight what they have because it's quite a bit different. It's product, order, amounts, query. And then we're going to hit finish. Okay, and we should have it in this order. And then we're going to go ahead and close.